Hello, ELA 7 students. This is Mrs. Gedicke, and I'm going to be talking to you today about how to write so what statements for conclusions in your writing. We are going to be adding this on as a skill that you guys are going to be doing when you write your CER paragraphs, and hopefully today's lesson will be helpful in clearing up how to do that. So to begin, this is a learning target that is going to be on the next few assessments and activities that we do as it relates to CER writing. So the learning target itself says, I can wrap up my writing with a concluding sentence that includes a so what for the audience. We'll talk a little more about what that so what part means more in just a moment. But just so that you guys can visualize what this means and where it goes. If you can see here on the screen, I just have that little reminder for how a CER paragraph should look. And we learned about this a few weeks ago now. So we have our claim, evidence and reasoning 1, evidence and reasoning 2, and then we restate our claim. And today, what we are adding on is that so what, okay? Think of it kind of like rainbow. So the claim, evidence, reasoning each have kind of a single color. The so what's the rainbow because it's like above everything else. It includes everything else and it kind of wraps everything else up and makes the bigger picture, the rainbow, for your reader. So the reason we're doing this is because good writing, no matter the genre, answers that question, so what? That means the purpose, the reason behind writing. If you cannot answer the so what question, if someone were to ask, well, so what? After reading something you wrote, then chances are it wasn't worth writing or you should reevaluate your claim or your topic. This also applies to argumentative writing, and that is what CER writing is, argumentative writing. So we're adding in our so what to kind of bring our own thinking and the meaning behind what we wrote to the forefront. So what does this mean? This means that while you are writing, or maybe after you're writing, you want to be asking yourself these big questions. So the questions you should be asking yourself during or after writing include, what is significant about my claim? So you should always be thinking, okay, well, why is my claim worth sharing? Is it really worth writing about? Think, why is that topic important to you or to the world? How does your claim impact the broader issue or the world? Actually explain that to your reader. And then, why should my readers care about my claim? If you can't answer any of those questions and you say, well, I don't know, or I guess my claim isn't important to me, then maybe it's a good idea to reevaluate your claim, make it more meaningful to you or to the world or to your own life. If you are stuck when you are trying to add on a so what to the end of your CER paragraph, here on the screen are just some good, some tips almost, or some strategies for how to wrap up a paragraph and include a good so what statement. These are not the only ways you can do this. These are just 3 really, really common ways to wrap up a paragraph or even an essay, a whole paper in general. The first is a call to action. This happens a lot more in persuasive writing, but in argumentative writing, it definitely could have its place. So this is where you would suggest that your reader do something, consider something, change how they think, believe something, or actually go do something based on what you've just written. I could see this fitting in really well with our empathy unit, just because you could give a call to action to your reader or suggest a way or a reason why empathy is really important as it relates to life. The next one, and this is probably maybe it's most commonly used. I certainly think that this is maybe the easiest or the most straightforward one is to zoom out. Okay, so think of your writing as a little piece of the picture and you're zoomed in on it. With your so what statement, if you zoom out, it means that you show your reader how what you just wrote matters to the bigger picture of the world or the issue you wrote about by zooming out and showing them the bigger picture or telling them about how the issue you wrote about or your claim, how it relates to the bigger picture of the world. And then the last strategy would be to make a connection. This could be a connection to your own experiences, to life in general, or to another book, text, piece of media, such as a movie or TV show. This one can be really useful, but I advise you to be careful because if you're not, we try to avoid using personal pronouns like I, me, etc. in argumentative writing. So you can make a connection for your so what statement. Just be careful that you don't turn your whole argumentative paragraph kind of upside down and make it about you. If you're making a connection that's really meaningful and it adds to your writing, that's great. That's different. But if you kind of take your whole writing and all of a sudden spend just as much time talking about something that happened to you that reminds you of that and it doesn't really feel related, maybe not the best option. Oh, and sorry about that. My clock is going off. Okay, so I think it's really helpful to think of your so what statement like a door. So if you think of your so what statement like a door, doors, you use them to close off a room or an area, but you also use them to open up a room or to walk into a new area. So think of it like that. It has two purposes. Use your so what statement to close off your argument to your reader, to close off the topic or what you were writing about, and to open your reader up to the bigger picture. Think of it like a door, like they're closing off your paragraph or your writing, but it's opening them up to the message or the bigger picture that you are trying to send to them. That's something that's been really helpful for me when I go to write a so what statement. All right, so this is where it gets fun. I personally need examples, otherwise I don't really understand things very well. So we are going to read through a small excerpt from the book Wonder by R.J. Palacio. And then I put together a CER skeleton and a CER paragraph for you in which I made a so what conclusion statement so that you can see kind of what I mean in practice. After you take a look at those, then I ask that you please, on the very last slide, it gives you more instructions, but you are going to see if you could add or come up with any alternative so what statements. And there's a little typo, I guess, or mistake in my slide. You're not going to be adding them onto the slideshow. There's a link on slide 10 to a Padlet. That way we can all see each other's ideas and learn from each other. All right, so here we have a small excerpt from Wonder. I'll just go ahead and read it out loud to you guys. I know I'm not an ordinary 10-year-old kid. I mean, sure, I do ordinary things. I eat ice cream, I ride my bike, I play ball, I have an Xbox, stuff like that makes me ordinary, I guess. And I feel ordinary inside. But I know ordinary kids don't make the other ordinary kids run away screaming in playgrounds. I know ordinary kids don't get stared at wherever they go. If I found a magic lamp and I could have one wish, I would wish that I had a normal face that no one ever noticed at all. I would wish that I could walk down the street without people seeing me and then doing that look away thing. Here's what I think. The only reason I'm not ordinary is that no one else sees me that way. But I'm kind of used to how I look by now. I know how to pretend I don't see the faces people make. We've all gotten pretty good at that sort of thing. Me, Mom, and Dad, Via. Actually, I take that back. Via's not so good at it. She can get really annoyed when people do something rude. Like, for instance, one time in the playground, some other older kids made some noises. I don't even know what the noises were exactly because I didn't hear them myself, but Via heard and she just started yelling at the kids. That's the way she is. I'm not that way. Via doesn't see me as ordinary. She says she does, but if I were ordinary, she wouldn't feel like she needs to protect me as much. And Mom and Dad don't see me as ordinary either. They see me as extraordinary. I think the only person in the world who realizes how ordinary I am is me. My name is August, by the way. I won't describe what I look like. Whatever you're thinking, it's probably worse. All right, so this is a lot of information, to give you at once. However, just for the sake of time, here's my CER skeleton that I already put together. You can see I have my claim. Augie's view of himself is affected by how others treat him. Okay, that's definitely an inference. It didn't tell us that explicitly in the text. I have my evidence and reasoning 1. I'm not going to read them out loud to you now. Please pause this if you'd like to. I have evidence and reasoning 2. And then you can see that I have my so what planned out here, okay? Just for the sake of time, I'm going to go on to the paragraph slide. The reason I showed you my skeleton is just to show you guys how, like, one strategy, as we've been talking about, for how to go about planning out your paragraph. I personally have to do this because I really can't, or it's really difficult for me to go straight to writing a paragraph. All right, so my claim. In the book Wonder by R.J. Palacio, Augie's view of himself is affected by how others treat him. First, this is shown when Augie states, I feel ordinary, I guess, but I know ordinary kids don't make other ordinary kids running away screaming. Palacio, page 1. So I have my first piece of evidence there, and now I'm going to add my reasoning and explain it. This shows that the only reason Augie doesn't feel like an ordinary kid is because of how other kids react to him. It is not ordinary or normal for other people to run away screaming when they see you, and Augie recognizes that. Do you guys see how I over-explained that there? That's a good thing. So I used Mrs. Caustic's tip from last week to pretend like my audience is an alien or doesn't know anything about the topic or human nature. So I over-explained that. I have my second evidence now. This is also demonstrated when Augie reflects that Via doesn't see me as ordinary. She says she does, but if I were ordinary, she wouldn't feel like she needs to protect me as much. Page 2. This proves that Augie's view of himself is affected by others, because Via's actions, even though they are kind, cause Augie to think of himself as not ordinary. He probably sees that most sisters are not as protective of their brothers and concludes that she, I have a typo guys, sorry, that she acts that way because he is so different. So there I have my reasoning, and it's a good lesson for proofreading because I had a typo. And once again, I really over-explained, which is a good thing. So now, in red, this first part here, in conclusion, the way other people treat him affects Augie's view of himself. I still restated the claim, but we're not done here. We're trying to make it more meaningful by adding in our so what. Therefore, it is important to be conscious of the ways we affect those around us, especially those we are closest to. It is very difficult to separate the way we see ourselves from the way others treat us, and everybody deserves to form their own identity rather than have it forced upon them. So that's the so what statement that I thought of, because I thought it wrapped up really well and connected the reader back to the world in general, not just Augie, not just this book, but the world in general. So now it is your turn. Using my CER paragraph or skeleton, I want you to think of other so what statements or ideas that you could put into a so what statement. Okay? Because you could take that so what in so many different directions. It just depends on your own background knowledge and experiences or connections that you could make. Go back and look at slides 4 to 6 for hints, and then go add any ideas to the Padlet linked in the slideshow. Good luck, you guys, and happy writing.